Hi folks, it's Dave. Remember me? Hopefully. You've got me again for another FUZE video. So it is Christmas, so we thought we'd do something a bit special. And I want to give you a bit of a preview on the upcoming FUZE patch, version 0.2.14. There is some awesome stuff in this patch. So I'm really excited to get into this and to show you. So let's just go right ahead and do that. I've got a little project here that I made. And this isn't a tutorial video, so I'm not going to talk about all this code, but I will just say this. Most of this, in fact pretty much all of it, apart from the things I'm going to explain, it's just copied and pasted straight from, I'm just bringing things up and sending them down here, straight from the 3D camera movement tutorial. So if you haven't checked out the tutorials, I really recommend doing that. Check out the 3D camera movement one, and all I've just done is copied and pasted this tutorial into the project. The very last part of the tutorial, the completed project. And it essentially just teaches you how to make a 3D first-person camera. And don't worry if you don't recognize these commands, it's not really that important right now. I just want to use it as a demonstration for you guys. So I've loaded in a Christmas tree. And I've put it on a board, and it looks very ominous. I've just run the program now. It's really ominous, actually. But as you can see, we've got camera controls, so I can move around and have a look at things. Very intimidating Christmas tree lit from above there. So I want to liven this environment up a little bit. That really ominous black background is not very nice. It's not very Christmassy. So I had an idea. It would be really cool if we could just load in a massive sort of skybox environment, and that's what we've done. There's a new function in FUZE called set environment, which lets you basically just put a massive box in the 3D world that's got a variety of different textures going on. So we've got a ton of different ones. I'll start with the first one on 0. Look at that, look at that lovely sort of watercolor, minimal sort of hillscape going on in the background. Straight away it has changed the vibe of this project. It's not so ominous anymore, is it? It looks a lot nicer. Although, the fact that the tree is floating, it is still slightly ominous. I might bring that down a little bit just to make it not so scary. I don't know why that is scaring me so much. Let's show you another environment, eh? I'll just stop rambling on. Number 1, what have we got? This one is the desert environment. Really cool, actually. I like this one. It goes with the floor that I've got here. It doesn't go so well with the Christmas tree, so I'll show you another one. Let's go for number 2. I believe this is now that's appropriate, isn't it? We've got a nice sort of Arctic tundra hillscape going on. Nice, bright, clear sky. So easy to just put a fantastic looking skybox. Look at this one. We've got awesome sort of minimal hills and caves and trees in the background. This I think is my favourite one, and I've been using this one a lot in some updated programs, which I will show you in a minute. It's never been so easy to just make an awesome environment. Let's just go back to that nice Arctic one, yeah. Now you'll see that these numbers here in the curly brackets, if you're not familiar with what a vector is, don't worry, check out the FUZE tutorial on vectors. In the product I'm talking about there. Me and Ben are going to, or Ben and I should say, are going to be uploading a video on structures and vectors as soon as we get into the new year. So if you don't know about vectors, you will at that point. But in the meantime, I would have a look at the FUZE tutorial that's built in. It does explain things quite well. So what we've got here is a red, green and blue amount for the light inside the environment. And if I change this, let's say I want more red, let's go 0.6 red, not 0.T6, 0.6. And if I run this, look at that, we've got a red sky and a very red light being cast on our Christmas tree. Very nice. Let's try a different one. Let's go more blue. Let's 0.8 blue. Now that's getting nice and Christmassy. Really nice looking sky there. I really like that. Awesome blue light. So as you can imagine with this, you have a lot of control over what you can do with these environments. And I will show you in a minute the new updated version of the Crazy Shooter project. That does some environment blending stuff that I would love to see some other people do better than what I have managed to do. I think I've done an okay-ish job, but I'm sure that some people will just make my jaw hit the floor with this beautiful environment blending. So you have a lot of control now over the lighting and environment in your 3D games. So let's move on to the next new feature. What we've got here, from here onwards, I should say. Actually, I'm just going to let's move all this up to the top here. We don't need this. I'm talking about from this point here onwards. It's called an object group. Now, if you didn't know, in 3D, when you're rotating something, and you want to rotate something else along with it, let's say I've got, I can't rotate that, 2 Joy-Cons. If I'm rotating this Joy-Con this way, and I've got another Joy-Con here, and I want them to both rotate like this, that is actually quite complicated maths. And we've seen some incredible stuff on the FUZE Arena. Actually, one user in particular, I'm sure they'll know who they are, has got this great jigsaw sort of puzzle thing going on with cubes. It is absolutely mind-blowing. But we've added some functions that make this sort of thing very, very easy. Much to this poor user's dismay, he's going to have to rewrite the whole of his project. Well, he doesn't have to, but I'm sure that he will want to when he sees how awesome these commands are. So as you can see here, I've got a handle. It's called group, just a variable. And inside that, I'm storing a function, and it's called create object group. And this vector here is the origin position of the group. So if I put it at 0, 0, 0, this is just saying the very, very middle point in 3D space. That's that central point in 3D space. That is the origin around which everything will be rotated or moved along. What we have to do next is then assign objects into that group. And so we're saying set the object parent to the group here. So I'm saying take this object, my first object, which is the tree, obj. As you can see, just on line 12 here, it says obj equals place object. So we've got our obj object, that's being assigned to the group, and we've got our floor object, I should say, that's being assigned to the group as well. And that's it. It's as easy as that. Now we've done that, in the code here, I can do a rotate object on that group, and I'm now rotating the entire group of objects. And they are moving in accordance, get your words out, Dave, in accordance with each other properly, and it just looks awesome. Now, the really exciting part about this is that even though they're in a group, the objects actually still remain as individual objects by themselves, so you can rotate one object by itself and the group all at once, as you can see there. Now, you might notice that my tree is turning red when it intersects with the floor. You can see that when it touches the floor there, when it goes into the floor, just trying to keep the tree on screen, it's turning red. And this is a new function which personally I am the most excited about. I can't wait to see what people do with this. It makes programming 3D games so much easier, and I can't wait to just to do more with it and to see what people do. It's called Object Intersect. And you give this function 2 object handles. So in this case, I've given it my tree and my floor. And it just returns a true or false, depending on whether or not those objects are intersecting, so if they've collided. So this makes collision in 3D a complete walk in the park. As you can see, in this if statement, it just says if those 2 objects are intersecting, if that's true, then set the material to the tree as red. And if they're not intersecting, in the else, set them to grey, just what it normally is. Now it really should be white actually, so it's not. There we go, it's a much brighter tree now. No wonder it looked so ominous before. I had it as a dark grey tree. So you can see that, look, it's turning red when it's touching there, and I mean, it just makes collision so easy. I can't wait to see what people do with this. I know I've said that about 4 times, but it's really true, and I'm quite enthusiastic about it. Okay, now that kind of brings me on to the next function here, which is something that makes this object intersect a lot more sort of visible in terms of how it works. It's called show object bounds, and it's got 3 arguments, just a true or a false to say show them or not, the colour of the object boundaries, and the thickness. So I'm just going to increase this to 4 so you can really see them. So if I run this, you will see the boxes that actually, this is the collision data for these objects. So you can see that on the... Tell you what, let's stop rotating that tree for a minute. It's getting a little bit hectic to follow around. There we go, that's better. Now, on the floor here, this is just a cube that's been squashed and stretched. Now on all the normal sort of, on blocks like rectangles or that sort of thing, the collision data is exactly right on the edges. But for something complicated like a Christmas tree, that's a different sort of story. It has this rectangle around it. Now if one of these corners or any part of this rectangle around the tree touches the rectangles and all this collision data around the floor, that will trigger the object intersect. And you might think, well, that's not very good because there's lots of this space. Like if you see that, I keep wanting to point over here, but if you see the sort of space around the tree, that might be quite difficult for collision. So we added another function called set object collision scale. And with this, you can change the collision boundary scale for any object. So here, I have kept the Y scale the same, and I've shrunk down the X scale a bit, and I've shrunk down the Z scale a little bit. Let's do it a bit more just to really exaggerate that. So it's 0.3 instead of 1, so it's only 30% of what it was. And I'm going to run this, and you can see, look, that has totally changed the collision data around this tree. It's maybe a little bit too much, but it's good for the top there. But maybe you could find other ways around this. It's hard to make things exactly right, but I'm sure that you'll agree, this makes programming 3D games so much easier. Now, I want to show you a couple of demo programs that will be in the new FUZE update that actually pertain to what I was just talking about with these 3D functions. So let's go into those. I've been writing these. If you've been following me on the arena, then you'll see I've just put up a few blog posts which talk about these new games. I'm going to start with the 3D. Here it is. It's an update to the 3D Crazy Shooter project that we all know and love, I hope. But it uses environment, it uses object intersect, and it looks a lot better. I've also kind of rewritten the code so it is a lot cleaner, has a title screen now, just looks a lot nicer. So let's go ahead and run this. So we've got some different music in there. I thought it's a bit better suited, and I'm going to press the A button and begin. Now, I have to get to, I forget what the score is now, I think it's like 3,000 before it starts changing the environment, so I'm not going to get quite that far. But the collision on the object is just an absolute dream. I can hit these objects anywhere with my laser, and I've just got it so it makes the objects go red and sort of fall, and there's a little explosion. I'm not sure if you can quite see that. It's very, very visible if I start shooting these rocks. Look, I've got like this sort of white explosion effect. Ooh, and I got hit by the rock, so that's the end of my session on 3D Crazy Shooter. I tell you what I'll just do actually, just to demonstrate, I will go into the environment threshold just to get you to see this environment changing. Let's go 500. Ooh, 500. So I'll just kill a few objects on here and then you can see the environments at work. As you can see, I've got one of the environments on there right now. This is the sunset one, which I really, really like. I think it looks awesome. Hopefully I can... I don't want this video to go on too long, otherwise you're just watching me play 3D Crazy Shooter, but maybe a couple more hits and we'll see this environment change. Here we go. Sort of darkens, becomes night, and then lightens itself up again. It's much more cool and much more exciting, at least I think so anyway. So I hope that you like this and we'll have fun with it. Add your own models to it, add your own stuff, and let's see what you can do with the project. In fact, start your own project. I'm sure that you have better ideas than me. On that note of the new demo projects, there's a couple more that I actually want to touch on. There's an update to the Gothic Vania project, which uses the map editor to a new sort of effect. There are some new features in the map editor which are really, really nice. As you can see, look, I've got this lovely sort of effect of the map being drawn over the top of the player, and that is now easier than ever, and so is collision data. Let's take a look at the map editor and see what new features we've got. So go into Tools, go into Map Editor, and I think Gothic Vania and Map 01. This is my map for it. And here we go. So I can now... So there are different controls now in the map editor. As you can see in the bottom left, there is a ZL more. We've got tons of different things to do. We've got a whole new sort of object selection. I can pick this up. I can rotate this around and scale it in. I can make it huge. I can just put it back there. Why not? I'll just do that. Collision data is now much easier. Layers are now much more effective and easier. Everything's just had a bit of an upgrade, become much more usable, much more powerful, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. Perhaps the most exciting feature though, and sadly I don't have a demo to really show this off, but we are getting a bit tight for time, so that might be for the best. You can now place animated tiles in your map editor to make, updating animated landscapes in your level, and this is now easier than ever before. It's just a new function called Update Map, and there you go. It's just done for you. You place animated tiles, and you can have like an animated coastline or animated lights. It's really awesome, really exciting, but we're yet to see what can be done with it fully yet. There's a few more features as well. We've got collision boxes. As you know, they already existed, but we can also mark areas now. I could call this floor. And now I've called this something. I can actually make specific things happen with this type of named area. I could have maybe a different movement speed on the floor to these, what would you call them? Pedestals or pillars, yeah. So there's much more customization available in the map editor. There's a whole new load of map commands as well, all explained in the help with examples, and hopefully that'll get you going with some awesome 2D projects as well. There's no excuse. 3D's gotten better, 2D's gotten better. It's so exciting. Me really can't wait for everyone to really get their teeth sunk into this. The last thing that I will mention, just before we call it a day, and I've been saving this to last because it is perhaps the most impactful change that we are planning in the new patch. However, please understand that this is subject to Nintendo approval. So we're going to submit it pending their approval, and we'll see how, we might have to rework it a little bit. We're going to try our absolute hardest to bring this to you as fast as possible. The FUZE sharing is overhauled. We can now, it's not totally different actually. You can still just share amongst your friends as normal. But we now have the option to share a project and get a specific unique ID, which is then approved by us. It's submitted to us, approved by us, and then that can be downloaded by anybody. Anybody with FUZE whatsoever. So sharing is different, 2D is different, 3D is different. It's all easier than ever. It's really exciting. I can't wait to bring this to you. I know I've said that about 20 times now, but it's just, I am that enthusiastic. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you've enjoyed a little bit of a sneak preview. Get planning on some ideas. If you can't wait for the update, but you just want to, maybe get some ideas down, go to FUZEarena.com. Come and share your ideas. Let's all get involved in each other's projects and help each other out. I can't wait to see what you all bring to the table. I've been Dave, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely amazing Christmas, a wonderful New Year, all the best to everybody and families and holiday seasons. If you don't celebrate Christmas, have an incredible time doing whatever it is that you want to do this sort of festive season. I've really put my foot in it there for the end of the video, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.